tower in the upright could mean trouble on this full moon.
Call it a result of your poor decisions, naive actions you take towards your very own people, you cowards.
That's cute. What's up, Krusty? Hey, Krusty, I haven't had my supper yet. Do you mind? Alright, that's better. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, now I think I'm ready. Let me put my glasses on first. Excellent, excellent. Can't forget about this. Alright, I'm satisfied. Let's get into this. What's up, everybody? It's me, your guy, Kimberly ep3 Hunter III, in episode 3 of Unmasking the Narcissist. We're going to take a look at the expired page out of the Guilty Blame Shamers Playbook, which I can honestly say is something that ran out in the year 1867. Today we're not only going to be revealing the mask behind the narcissistic energy vampire, who is very much guilty of many things, but they try to cover it up and hide it over top of their beautifully orchestrated narcissistic mask. But as we dive deeper into the psychology of what makes a certified madman tick, we can start deciphering the coding of their secret. But it is very, very heroic for them to wear that fake mask. It's a situation where sometimes somebody says one thing or more that might not actually be that far off from the truth if it's 100% authentic. It just depends on the subject or situation, but they might take on the role of a heroic voice of reason, using words as a sense of empowerment to make the person who tells the truth either seem like a liar or somebody who's not mentally well. But what if I told you that the definition of "we're all a little bit mad here" was purely an edgy buzzword or catchphrase? And the true monster, which lies beneath the mask of the narcissist, would reveal something far more sinister than you could ever imagine or expect from the heroic liar. But today we're going to decipher that coding, and we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the tactics that the narcissists use to accountability shift and blame shame. Now, in order to understand how a psychopath thinks and operates, you need to put yourself in their shoes, even when the shoe doesn't fit and you could never be like them at all, and you're not like that. So you just imagine if you were them, what would you do? So you put yourself into that imaginary situation, even though you're not a psychopath at all, but they are. And you have to remember, they're wearing a mask. We are not psychotic, low vibrational, and a little bit weird like they are or their friends are, but we're going to get deeper into the subject regardless. So kick back, grab yourself an ice cold glass of lemonade, decaffeinated tea, or non-alcoholic eggnog, and let's get down like Charlie Brown as I dive deeper into the neurological makings of an absolute madman, psychopath. This is episode 3 of Unmasking the Narcissist. My only intention today is to make unmasking narcissism more understandable. It's important to unmask narcissistic people who accountability shift and blame shame. And if I could turn it into an Olympic sport, I would. So okay, let's do this. I'm going to do my best to explain how the mindset of a narcissistic accountability shifter uses reverse psychology tactics to play certain roles, sometimes seen as a heroic person, through a window of a misguided audience. Allow me to enlighten you and just show you the truth instead of listening to whatever they have to say. Most likely, you already saw their mask fall off, if you can see what I see, but the truth does not exist inside the vocabulary of a narcissistic accountability shifter. And that's why they blame shame. And they do this to deflect attention from themselves, and they take on the role of a hero in the process of deflecting the attention from themselves. So sometimes it's like a defense mechanism in order to duck and dodge the accountability of what they need to take responsibility for, which is their very own actions. So why do I care? Well, I don't really care, to be honest, but if you guys have been watching this channel, I created a series called Shattering the Illusion of False Power because people started fucking with me and attacking me every single day on the internet, and they refused to leave me alone. It's like they got giddy, witty, and pretty about it, so I needed to make them feel cheated, depleted, and defeated, and I developed a 5-step program in order to defend myself and remain in my power at all costs. But that series is also my way of giving something back to people who never had a voice and nobody to ever stick up for them. So even though we can continue the mental aerobics of them feeling like they got one up on me, the only thing they've gotten one up on is unmasking themselves. But isn't it something how I also created Unmasking the Narcissist? We dive a little bit deeper into the psychology of what makes them tick and what they don't want you to see, and then we tear off the mask, we step on it, and we smile for the camera for an Olympic sport. The only time I ever started caring is when people started fucking with me and they refused to leave me alone, so I kind of had to put up my defense, but I don't have anything to hide, and people who are fucking with me have a lot to hide, so it makes the situation quite interesting, doesn't it? And it's their refusal to leave me alone that turns Unmasking the Narcissist into an Olympic sport, and I'm happy to oblige, and I feel blessed to serve when it comes to that. So refusing to leave somebody alone is like a false sense of empowerment and a false sense of entitlement when it pertains to an individual like myself. But let's get down. We're going to decipher the psychopath. Somebody call the pharmaceutical department, because if the wrong person tunes into today's episode of Unmasking the Narcissist, we're going to cause a whole lot of glitches, a whole lot of twitches, and a herd of mentally unstable bitches who start tweaking out. But I'm going to do my best to soften the blow, alright? So here we go. Here's an example. Somebody may say something about someone who did something to them in their lives, and then they tell it to one person or more than one person. And this would be a case of those people either not believing what you have to say, or they already know about it, but they just don't care, and they took the side of the person who did something to that person, rather than stick up for the person who is just telling the truth. So this is what makes the accountability shift possible, because some other lessons out of the Blame Shamers Playbook expired in 1867, just to remind you guys, is to accountability shift, because some of the other lessons out of the Blame Shamers Playbook is to use lies and influence by numbers, as well as false narratives, in order to make the honest person who may have some sort of integrity into some sort of a villain in their world through their social circle or their community. And this develops a reward system which rewards bad behavior and protects narcissists. And it favors narcissism. It accountability shifts by using diversion. Not only does it make the narcissist look good to appear as a hero, but if they can successfully lie to you, depending on the severity of that lie, they may even potentially get good people caught up into their mess who don't even really care about them or anything they do, but they just listen to the wrong person because the narcissist wears that mask. We all know narcissists are built with self-destruction buttons, right? It's just not everybody dares them to push their own self-destruction button. Now, depending on how the masker's energy comes out when they start to play in your energy, they may do you a favor and just take themselves down for you, depending on how much they start behaving weird. I know that's cold to say, but I'm not an expert on mental health, alright? I just understand the psychology of narcissists. A lot of people do walk this earth undiagnosed, full of these narcissistic, ill-willed philosophies. And they don't really do anything to make the world a better place. They just reward bad behavior and get other people to carry out more bad behavior to reward additional bad behavior. And it's not making the world a better place. So what they're doing is they're using power by numbers, lies, diversion, and deception to blame good people into becoming a problem for the actual source of the true problem, which is the narcissist. And that's why we tear off the mask, we step on it for an Olympic sport. and we just get people to see them for who they truly are if they were unaware. Because some people don't give a fuck and they'll be like, yeah, it's a narcissist, pay my salary, I love it. Other people will be like, fuck this guy, this piece of shit needs to be put behind bars. But to each their own regarding that. So we have people who are walking this earth full of these ill-willed narcissistic philosophies. They're not doing anything to make the world a better place. And they built a reward system on this, but isn't that what makes things such as corruption work in the year 2025? And isn't that an expired belief system out of the Blame Shamers Playbook, established sometime in the 1800s? And yes, of course, it was cute, but it's old. It's old and tired and expired. So out with the old, in with the new, and I'm happy to unmask the narcissist in episode 3 of Unmasking the Narcissist. I'm happy to reveal the behavioral patterns of a narcissistic energy vampire who uses false motives in order to protect themselves from people finding out who they truly are, as well as develop a reward system for them to behave badly. But if I fuck up and I make a mistake, I have to own up to it. Yet when the narcissist puts on that mask, they develop this reward system through diversion and powered by numbers to reward their narcissistic bad behavior. And they duck out of the pharmaceutical department, but they walk around undiagnosed. I know it can be difficult to decipher sometimes, but remember, the narcissist is a compulsive liar. Truth does not exist in their vocabulary. But I hope you guys learned something today. If I could offer anybody anything important to take away from today's presentation, my advice would just be to never let go of your morals, ethics, dignity and honor and integrity, if you have any, because the narcissist will have no problem using any of those things against you. And they develop these false motives in order to make you look bad and punish you for doing the right thing. But are you going to develop a reward system for bad behavior, or are you going to abide by those honorable qualities that you have? I would go with the second one myself, but not everybody would. But if people want to reward bad behavior and protect bad behavior, accountability shift, blame shame, villainize people who don't even do anything wrong, then fuck them and fuck their feelings. But unmasking the narcissist is an Olympic sport. See you guys again for episode 4.